Hello YouTube, Grimro again, giving you guys one more Cardfight Vanguard deck profile. After my last batch of videos that I had to upload for these, this is sort of a latecomer as far as those. I had to pick up some things real quick to finish this off. But today I'm giving you guys a deck that I sort of started picking up for a friend of mine that was really into this deck, and I started picking up stuff for him, kind of ended up getting everything and just made the deck myself. Giving you guys Magus, who is the new Oracle think tank archetype, sort of, that came out of the extra booster 7, I believe it is. 7, the mystical Magus, or whatever it was, extra booster. But they are keeping with the Oracle think tank flavor. They are all based around knowing the top card of your deck, manipulating the top of your deck. That way you're able to get the cards that you need, dry check the cards that you want, drawing cards, that sort of thing that Oracle think tank like to do. So this deck is mad fun. Definitely is not a really easy deck to, sort of like how Oracle think they are in general. It's not a really easy deck to play. You have to kind of know what you're doing, and there's a lot of thinking involved that, you know, not all card game players are always good at. But let me get to the deck list here. Starter is Battle Sister Eclair. It's your grade 3 searcher, kind of +1 per in the soul. Look for a top 5 on a grade 3. You guys know the deal. About every other deck seems to run those nowadays. Probably until we get Legion, that's probably how it's going to be, just because how Break Rides are. Trigger lineup, we have 4 heal, because Law's Magus. Or I guess you could run, was it Spear Magus? Is the other heal trigger that they have, and it's really the same card. 12 crit triggers. 4 being your Psychic Birds, you're put it in the soul, you draw a card. With this deck, critical triggers are an absolute must, as you want to provide as much pressure on your opponent as possible, especially with the top card manipulation. And if you can just stack 2 crit triggers right there on your break ride turn, it's wins you games. It's kind of what you want to do. So you want to max out on crit triggers as much as possible. So 12 crit triggers, 4 heals. Grade 1 lineup. We have 4 Tetra Magus. The new Oracle think tank Perfect Guard. On her overshock a lot. The old one, because she is a Magus. And my Pentagonal Magus needs Magus Counterblast. She's a special counterblaster for her 5,000 bonus skill. Outside of that, though, that's the only really a special counterblast that you need. So in this build, having the Magus name is important. Yep. I mean, Chocolat also works too. Also, for Circle Magus, when she's called to Vanguard or Rear Guard, you get to check the top card of your deck and you place it back on top. So she just lets you peek at the top card of your deck. This helps you look at what's coming. That way you can either play around sort of the top card of your deck. If it's a card that you like there, like you see there's a trigger coming up, you say, oh, I want to leave that there, and I'll just attack my Vanguard, and now I know I'm getting a trigger coming my way. If it's something that you might need, you can use one of your other skills to, like Brelette that I'll get to later, to put her back on top, and then you get that card from your deck to your hand. Or most importantly, she works in conjunction with some of these next cards, Crescent Magus, who she's 6k on her own. When she boosts, you get to declare the top card of your deck, reveal it, and if it's a card that you declared, she gets plus 3,000, so she's the 9k booster. Works very well with Crescent. With Circle. In that you would call her, reveal, and then now you know what's coming up there, so your Crescent Maguses can get their 9k boost if you so need to. And to round out the grade 1 lineup, 2 Reapus Magus, the 10k grade 1 attacker. Really just kind of in there for a little bit of early game pressure if you need her, and the Magus name, since all your stuff is Magus. On a grade 2s, 4 Cure Magus, 12k attacker. As long as you have a Magus Vanguard, which you always will because all you run is Magus. 4 Stellar Magus. This is probably sort of the bread and butter of your grade 2 lineup. And she does some really cool stuff as far as gaining advantage as for what you need. At the cost of a Counterblast 1 on Vanguard or Rearguard, when she attacks a Vanguard, if you have an Oracle Think Tank Vanguard, you can pay the cost of the Counterblast 1, declare an Oracle Think Tank card name, reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's the one that you declared, you can add that card to your hand. If not, you get to unflip 1 damage. So she's either a Counterblast 1 draw a card, which is rather efficient, or she unflips and you just kind of use your skill for free. This is a great way to either know what the top card of your deck is, let you gain card advantage off of, there's this, nice grade 3 or grade 2 that I need, and let me just add that to my hand. Or you get to know what's coming. She also works very well with your Crescent Magus. So let's say we have a column of Stellar and Crescent, either on Vanguard or Rearguard, doesn't really matter where. Their skills will activate at the same time, so you get to choose what order you want these skills to activate in. So if you want that 9k boost off of Crescent, I would use Stellars first, use the Counterblast, look at the top card for free essentially, and then you can use, you use Stellar to look at the top card, and then Crescent will check again, and then now you know what the card is, so she'll get her boost. Or if you want that card to add to your hand, you use Crescent skill, declare whatever you hope it might be, look at the top card, and then you would go into Stellar Magus' skill, and you know what it is, so you just add it to your hand if you want it. So they are a very, very deadly tandem and sort of what make up the core of the deck. And then there is your 3 Briolette Magus. She is a nifty Soul Blast 1, draw a card, and then place her on top of the deck. This sounds very underwhelming, as she sort of replaces herself for whatever is going to be on the top of your deck, but this lets you gives you sort of a free access to whatever you want on the top of your deck. So it could be whatever's there, Soul Blast 1, draw a card, put her on top, and now she's on top of your deck. You know what that's going to be there, so you can use your Stellar and Crescent skills or Pentagonal skills for with certainty. So that's grade 2 lineup. And now on to the grade 3. We have our 4 of Break Ride Hexagonal Magus, and she is fantastic. First off, she has the generic stuff for the Break Ride Lord skill, sort of a mini CEO effect where it's continuous if you have 4 cards in your hand. She gets plus 2,000 during your turn. And then the Break Ride skill is give 10,000 to a Oracle Think Tank Vanguard that would ride over top of her, and then you get to check the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 to your hand, and put the other 2 back on top of your deck in any order. So not only does this let you give you like a break even on Break Ride, in that you get another card from your deck, But you also get to rearrange the top 2 cards of your deck, which is very nice when you're doing your drive checks. And I'll sort of go into sort of how you want to do this with your other boss monster, Pentagonal Magus, who also has Lord skill, doesn't matter in this deck. Counterblast 2 cards with Magus to give her plus 5,000, so that's your special counterblast. And then her limit break skill is when she attacks a Vanguard, you would declare an Oracle Think Tank card name and reveal the top card of your deck. And if that is the card that you declared, she gets plus 5,000 and plus 1 critical. Again, works very well with your Stellar Crescents as well as your Riolettes. Magus gives you an instant setup to this. The one downside of her that I will... she's great as far as adding pressure and just offensive power to the deck, as she is a double crit, and this is before the crit trigger or 2 that you're going to stack on top of your deck with your Break Ride skill. The problem with her is that her skill will activate when she attacks, and then you get to reveal what's there. So if you reveal a trigger off of her effect, then your opponent is going to know that there's, oh hey, there's a crit trigger coming, this thing's going to hit me for 3 damage, and I need to guard this attack, I can't let this go through. So you kind of have to play around this a little bit and play some mind games with your opponent. This is where sort of the thinking aspect of the deck comes in with the rearranging the top cards of your deck. So, just say off your Break Ride, 10,000 power, and then you look at the top 3 cards of your deck. Let's say one is, you know, heal trigger. You have at least 1 critical trigger, and then 1 of something else. Let's see here, a 12k attack or whatever. So you would probably want to add the grade 2 to your hand, because that's going to help you more, call it to the field. Rearrange them back on top. I would actually put the heal trigger on top first. That way, you know, your opponent will not know when you're doing your revealing. They're just going to see a heal trigger. So like, oh, there's a trigger coming, but it's only a heal trigger. I just have to guard for 1 trigger. And they're not going to suspect that you have a second trigger coming that is a critical trigger that will kill them at 3 damage. Likewise, if let's see, I had a top 3 of, it was a grade 2, it was actually a grade 1, a critical trigger, as well as a perfect guard. So I added the other cards to my hand, and then I have a perfect guard and a critical trigger as the 2 cards. I put the Tetramagus on the top. So when my opponent is seeing all these cards that I'm revealing off of my Pentagonal Magus skill, my Stellar skill, my Crescent skill, they're just like, oh, here comes a not trigger. It's, you know, a card that's not going to help him in the drive check. And this is kind of where you have to sell a little bit, where it's like, oh yeah, here comes a Tetramagus, a ho-hum, whatever. Play a little mind games with your opponent, it's kind of nice. And then, oh, bam, critical trigger for 3 damage per game. So that's kind of what you want to do with this. It's like the Tsukiyomi deck of Oracle Think Tank with your deck manipulation. This makes it a little bit easier in that you don't have to cycle through your entire deck to hopefully get to your double trigger stack with a Silent Tom or something. This way you can just rearrange the top 3 cards of your deck. Kind of plays more into like the CEO style, which I have people run Hexagonal Magus with both Tsukiyomi and CEO I've seen. But Pentagonal is very nice as well for that extra critical pressure. So, extremely, extremely fun deck. Very, very sneaky deck. Definitely sort of the way that Oracle Think Tank like to... They like to play with the mind games, card advantage, and just manipulating your deck. Very, very nice. So, fun deck, and I even got the you know, Hexagonal Magus sleeves and the mat to go with it, because I'm like, hey, I'm not even going to make this deck, but I got everything for it, so might as well make it. Let me know what you guys think of this deck. If you guys have any suggestions, I've seen people trying to fit in some other things like Little Witch Lulu and Silent Tom and some of the AKs, And I feel that that way you're just getting more into more generic Oracle think tank and not in sort of your Magus mindset. But definitely I want to hear some feedback from you guys. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching, and peace out, YouTube.